today, Governor Patrick stood in the drizzle in Allston, just a few blocks from WGBH, and made an announcement that thrilled the neighborhood. As the state works to straighten out the Massachusetts Turnpike, it's also going to build a new commuter rail station with easy access to and from South Station.
A part of that project is creating the new West Station, which will be a multimodal rail commuter station, commuting rail, DMUs I think as well. That's right. So we can get in and out of Boston, back and forth to Worcester.
All right. The excitement that greeted Patrick's announcement shows just how hungry people in Allston and Brighton are for more public transit options. And if Boston's push for the 2024 Olympic Games succeeds, a bunch of other big improvements to the T could be in store. WGBH News reporter Adam Riley has more in this week's Focus Report.
In Massachusetts politics, Fred Salvucci is a legend. The former transportation secretary remade the red and orange lines and launched the massive project known as the Big Dig. Now, as the push to bring the Olympics to Massachusetts gains momentum, Salvucci is thinking big yet again.
The Olympics is a little bit like, company's coming, so we better clean the house. Well, we really should clean the house for ourselves. But the Olympics is a good excuse to say, okay, this is a wake-up call.
Salvucci says the Games could spur a host of desperately needed changes at the T, like new signals so trains can run twice as often, and better protection against flooding. And he adds the T could get bigger, too.
If you think about the Red Line, years ago, when we extended to Alewife, there was discussion about going all the way to Arlington. Let's renew the discussion. You could get the Red Line out to Route 128.
Salvucci also suggests pushing the Blue Line out to Lynn and launching a new line linking the Back Bay to the south end. And he insists these wouldn't just be vanity projects.
We're lucky here. We have the potential for growth. We're seeing it in the Innovation District and in Kendall and in Longwood. There's groundbreakings all the time. So it's not hypothetical that this economy wants to grow. But if we fail to serve it with access, that will choke that growth.
MBTA General Manager Beverly Scott agrees that the Olympics could spark an extreme T makeover, but her wish list is a bit different.
I would look for an absolutely exploded bus network, okay? And not just bus in the traditional sense, a suite of services.
Scott imagines new bus lines, new bus lanes, and a total reinvention of how some Boston streets work. You're talking traffic lights changing as a bus approaches?
As a bus winds up approaching, I'm talking about maybe some bulbing out, okay, you know what I'm saying? So
what
that
is
it makes
bulbing out?
So what would wind up happening is that I would have to wind up getting rid of some of this parking now. So that bus can just really wind up just coming up and just absolute ease of movement in terms of boarding and alighting.
What's more, Scott says the Olympics could push Boston to build upward, with new pedestrian and bike lanes running above street level.
We're so dense, okay? This is not like we're going out in the prairie somewhere. We almost have to me, think in terms of how do we even begin to build a more vertical city.
But here's the catch. If Boston gets the 2024 Games, it'll only have 7 years to design, launch, and complete any new projects. During that time, getting around could be a major headache. Salvucci says Boston could pull it off and cites the current rebuilding of the Longfellow Bridge as proof.
They're keeping the Red Line operating. They're rebuilding a bridge that's over a century old, that holds up the Red Line and a lot of cars and a lot of pedestrians and bikes. I think the Longfellow should kind of give us the confidence that, yeah, it's a big challenge, but we're capable of doing it.
And if the Olympics come to Boston, that vision could become a reality. I promised Beverly Scott I would make it clear she is not officially endorsing an Olympic bid for Boston. She wanted to be very, very explicit about that. That being said, you can tell when she talks how excited she is about what she thinks she could do and we could do if that happened.
Well, how realistic is what Fred Salvucci is proposing? I mean, the Longfellow Bridge is one small project, a big hassle for a lot of people, I should add. But when you start adding on exponentially miles of roadway and creating new lines on the T, I mean,
it feels a little weird as a layperson to question his, civil engineering expertise because he knows a ton, and I do not. But that being said, I feel like he's maybe underplaying a bit the inconvenience that the Longfellow renovation has caused, and it's hard to imagine things like the construction of new miniature lines in the heart of the city, or sending the Red Line out to 128, not hurting traffic. I mean, if a truck double parks on Mass Ave, the whole city grinds to a halt. So this does give me a little bit of pause.
Okay, Adam Riley, thanks for that. So are the Olympics the ticket to an improved public transit system in Boston? Joining me to share his thoughts is Jim Aloisi, who served as State Transportation Secretary during Governor Patrick's first term. Welcome back to Greater Boston.
Thanks, Emily.
So everybody looks at what we're going to gain from this. I mean, it's going to be a lot of hassle along the way. But as Fred Salvucci said, shouldn't we have been doing this anyway?
Yes. I mean, whether we get the Olympics or not, there's a whole menu of MBTA improvements and expansions that really need to be on the next administration's agenda. There are areas of critical concern that we know about today. Seaport District is certainly one of them. Access to and from Logan Airport is another one. Bev Scott talked about revitalizing the bus system, a critical way to improve something that shouldn't be viewed as second or third class mobility, but should be viewed as first class mobility.
Really? See, it seems like we have enough buses. If she does that, we got to get rid of something else, like some of those tour buses and some of that stuff. You can't add more buses. You can't add more to the road without taking something away.
I agree. We may have enough buses. We don't have enough buses that work well enough.
True.
I've been writing about in Commonwealth Magazine recently is a plan of action. One of the things I'll be saying is we need a bus rapid transit system that connects the city from Mattapan Square to Logan Airport. If you had true bus rapid transit in Boston, like they do in places like Bogota, Colombia, it would transform the city, and it would enhance the way people move around without having to use the subway. I want to say a word about Logan Airport. Here we have a major international airport, and the way you get access to it by transit is really poor. What we need to do is extend the Blue Line to Lynn, get people to park in that Lynn garage, take the Blue Line into Logan, whether they work there or traveling, get the Red Line to connect by the Silver Line bus right into the airport, and keep the Blue Line going. So there are lots of areas, as I say, of critical concern they should be focused on. You would focus on them for sure with the Olympics, but we should be doing it anyway.
What about some of these more creative ideas, like what Bev Scott is talking about, like elevated walkways and pedestrian water taxis? There's a lot of poo-pooing that because there's all kinds of rules and regulations on the Charles, but is any of that realistic? I
think it's realistic, although, you know, whenever you start building elevated structures, you have to think about what it costs to maintain those structures, and then you get into the kind of maintenance cost issues that plague us today. I think we need to be thinking about doing more with less, finding ways that may not be the most elegant, but that get people where they want to go the fastest way possible. We've tried to do that in a variety of ways. Instead of building a tunnel between South Station and Essex Street, we have a Silver Line 4 bus that's at grade, but gets people where they want to go every day at a fraction of the cost. So I think we need to think creatively, but we also need to bring a practical approach so that people don't just have visions of the future. They have actual usable transit systems.
Well, the money thing is, I mean, the T system is billions of dollars in debt. If the long shot, if Boston gets the 2024 Olympics, who's going to pay for this? Is there federal money involved, state money? How does it get paid for?
Well, a friend of mine said to me, the Olympics are not coming to Boston unless the United States of America wants the Olympics to come to Boston, meaning the federal government would have to support this in a significant way. We certainly can't detract or distract ourselves from paying for what people on the ground need here every day. If there were an Olympics, I would say that one of the filters for any investment in transportation infrastructure should be, how is it going to be used after the Olympics are gone? And is it going to really serve the needs of our people, of our workers, of our citizens? And if the answer to that filtered question is yes, then by all means, let's look at it. But we can't do it without significant support. I mean, we need to focus our funding right now on what we have. I've supported other approaches, as you know, to raising revenue. But those are difficult questions to
You know, I don't want to burst Governor Patrick's bubble here, but a commuter rail line, I mean, don't you need a T line out servicing Alston, Brighton? It's, you know, well, where are the commuters coming from?
It's the path.
Worcester?
Well, the West, I would say in defense of this, that it's a path of least resistance.
You can't get here from the North Shore. You can't, you know, anywhere in the North, you can't get here from the South Shore. You can't get here without driving.
I agree. Sadly enough, there's a bus outside here, but I understand your point. I think it's the West Station.
That's hired by GBH, by the way. That's the GBH shuttle bus. It'll take you to Harvard Square if you're nice.
Thank you, GBH. West Station is the beginning of a process. having it there is the path of least resistance because the rail is already there and it's a stop on the Worcester line. That train someday can connect, I think, to both North and South stations. What needs to happen is there needs to be demand proven. I think there will be demand proven. So these things can happen incrementally. The idea of expanding too quickly without the kind of proven need is just not going to happen realistically. But it's a great first step. It's an important announcement.
And maybe you should get on that planning committee. All right, Jim Aloisi, pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much.